Welcome to the Rampant Discourse YouTube channel. I'm your host, Paul Essen.
I'm Andrew Riley.
I'm Travis Hudson.
And Travis, we're really doing well with this. We've got 2/3 of the way through. What are we doing tonight?
We're coming around the bend almost on our Brewer's Advent calendar for 2021. We're on to number 17 if my count is correct.
17, 16.
I don't have 17 fingers, otherwise I'll hold it up.
You do 10, and then you do 7.
I've had two people correct me, so I gotta poke. Well, you guys can't even see this now. It's down below the camera, isn't it?
Yep.
You have no idea what you're doing.
I've had the two Advent calendar experts tell me you have to poke it in. You can't reach around and poke it out.
Are you doing that on purpose?
Don't have any instance of the deal reach around.
It's up to you. I don't know what this guy's doing.
Flying,
Excited.
Oh, he's flying a turbo prop. Hey, that's not German.
So
An Imperial Pils?
I was also surprised when I saw that this was an Imperial Pils, because that is not... I'll come back to the Imperial portion in a moment, but let's go ahead and talk about what we're drinking here tonight. This is the Turbo Prop Imperial Pils by Propeller Bier. It is a 6.5% alcohol Pils. It's brewed in Bad Lasve in North Rhine-Westphalia, which is a small city far north of Frankfurt and a little north and east of Koblenz. They are a very small craft brewery, making only a handful of beers and a small amount of them, but they have a brewer that seems to know his stuff, from what I was reading into it. He really likes playing around with aromatics in his hops. Imperial beer.
Sorry to interrupt. I got a whiff when I was pouring it, yeah.
Imperial means, in beer terms, that it is like a punch in the face. It's a big beer. So it's got strong flavor, a lot of alcohol, or both, and often both. So the fact that this comes in at 6.5% as a Pils is why it's the Imperial.
Yeah, because I've seen Imperial pop up in front of
Stouts most often.
usually stouts and I don't know, but whenever I see Imperial in front of it, I've learned to tend to shy away just because it's maybe not so much as it's a punch in the face, but just particularly stouts, they seem to be more on the bitter end. Maybe it's just the ones I've had.
Oh, yeah, that's a lovely fragrance.
For a while, I had no idea what IPA standed for, and I assumed it was like Imperial Pilsner Ale or something like that, right? Like I'm just kind of making up what words related to beer do I know that start with an I and a P and an A, and so in my mind I was always thinking like Imperial something something ale. Wow, both of you are like the exact same like head tilt
So
that was my first sip, and I made sure to give myself, I'm going to disappear for a second here, but I made sure to give myself a stronger pour on this one. Normally I like to save my beers, as I've mentioned before, so that's why I would pour it flatter, and to try and minimize the head. But for this one, I wanted, especially knowing if the brewer was going for the aromatics, I wanted to have a chance for this to come out and breathe. And so I'm going to be drinking this one a little bit faster than I normally would, I think, but I've had no problem so far.
You drink it faster when there's a head on it?
Because otherwise it's going to go flat. You're losing carbonation, right?
Okay.
So if you want to drink flat, stale beer, then you can take as long. And it's not like it's a huge difference. In the amount of time we're going to be here sitting drinking it, it's not going to matter at all. But I tend to savor my beers more, so...
So, I know you just told us, is H.C. Bosch, is that the brewer then? And then Propeller Bier is...
Hans Christian Bosch is the man, and Propeller Bier is this company.
Yeah, GmbH, okay.
GmbH.
Yeah, it's got a different taste. The aroma was distinctive. I don't know if I would have said it was particularly distinctive compared to some of the other pilsners. What's the thing that's generally had the most aroma in the past? Was it the Hells, the pilsners? I don't really remember.
It's going to depend on the beer more than the style. Because it's going to come mostly down to the hops. Most of the fragrance is coming from the hops, whereas a lot of the flavor is coming from your malted grain.
I will say that the taste seems very different than the aroma. Based on the aroma, I was expecting a crisp, lighter beer, and to your point, Andrew, this feels like it's a heavier, more a stronger tasting. I almost want to say meteor. I don't know if that's a word you use that I'm just copying, but it feels like a meteor beer in some way.
So I will say, it tastes like what I would actually taste what I think what Imperial Pilsner would taste like, which. And I already kind of gave my opinion on it, putting Imperial in front of a beer.
Well, I'm a little biased towards this beer because I've been craving a beer all day. It's just been one of those days. It's, for some reason, nothing in particular. Just constant small stresses and like what, I'm ready to kick back and do this advent calendar with you guys tonight because I am ready for a beer.
Yeah, it's basically called 1 week till Christmas.
Yeah. So, is it? This may sound like a stupid question. Is it possible for there to be it is possible for there to be a variable amount of time between Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? Yes. Sometimes you have a shorter holiday season because Thanksgiving is a day of the week, and
yeah.
Okay.
Well, because Thanksgiving is the 4th Thursday of the month, so you could have up to a whole additional week if it's just right.
Is this a shorter period of time than we usually have?
I feel like this was a late Thanksgiving, and yet it's not like November was the longer month and we had more time in November. I think November seems to have flown by for me. That's my recollection. But yeah, I think this is a very short Thanksgiving to Christmas period in terms of length.
That's been the feeling to me. I feel like Christmas has definitely snuck up. Like it does not feel like it's as close as it is.
It's probably although it's probably right in the middle. Thanksgiving. This is why I'm looking off camera. Sorry. Thanksgiving was apparently on the 26th, which meant there was only actually there was almost a full week. There was 5 days afterwards.
Yeah.
In November, but this whole year, I know this is cliche after 2020, but this whole year seems to have gone by kind of fast.
This is also, we've mentioned that we're old and I'm the oldest, and not the oldest, but as you get older,
you're the youngest.
Exactly. Don't you guys like to mock me for being an old man? The years go by faster the older you get. So we've had the opportunity to have had 40 years on this planet now, and it means that each year is successfully faster. So, of course, they are also very busy. We've had a lot of stuff happen in the past 2 years, but you'd think that 2020, the pandemic year, with staying at home, would have felt slow, right? What are you going to do? Well, we're not doing much of anything, so it should have felt slow, and it didn't to me.
It was the parental cliche. The nights are long, but the years are short, or whatever it is, I think. You guys have to have heard that.
It sounds familiar, but also I wonder if you got the wording wrong. Is that something about that sounds wrong? Like the nights are not.
It might be the days are long and the years are short.
Maybe that's what it is.
Everybody lives, not everybody truly dies. It sounds like something that Andrew butchered.
I change it to night because when you have a baby, it's the nights that feel like they're long.
Yeah.
Paul's the closest to that, still to that for three of us. So.
Yeah, I remember those days though.
It's incredible how short nights are when you have like a project due the next morning and you're like, I have all night to do it, and then like, oh crap. And it's incredible how long the night is when you have a screaming baby that you're trying to put to sleep.
Anytime you're on a deadline, it's like, I've got 4 hours. How long is this going to take me? 2 hours? And then all of a sudden you've used up all 4 hours, right? Because you've had overruns that you didn't expect.
Or you spend 2 hours surfing the web because it's like, I still got 2 more hours.
But say, I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere that it is human nature. Like procrastination is human nature, and like that's why we have to have deadlines. But then some people don't work well under that pressure once they get to that point.
Vicious cycle.
I feel like breaking into song here.
Under pressure?
No, the Charlie Brown musical.
Of course.
They're all musical. Oh no, well, which one?
Wait, are any of them musicals?
They sing. Well, there's a lot of music, I guess. Maybe not a lot of singing.
Is there? No, Charlie Brown the musical.
Okay, the actual like Broadway show or something.
Yeah, there's...
Oh yeah. The short little actress played Sally. Kristen Chenoweth or something like that, I think. Yeah.
I mean, maybe one time, possibly.
She wrote the introduction to one of the Peanuts collections. because and like they chose one of the reasons they chose her was she played Sally in the Broadway version.
I want to go back to the idea that Travis thinks that all the Charlie Browns are musicals.
They have music in like Vince. Oh, I'm gonna butcher his last name.
Like the piano guy?
So at least the Christmas one is like super famous for its music.
Huh.
Yeah, I would agree that the music is very, very important. Calling it a musical would tend to imply that the kids are the ones singing, I think.
Correct. That's why I backed off and said it has music. It's not a musical. Yes, because the kids only sing like "Oh Christmas Tree" at the end of the Charlie Brown Christmas. Otherwise, yeah, it's all instrumental jazz music.
I can only think of like the Peanuts theme as the only music I can think of.
There's also one carol they wrote for the song that's pretty famous, and that the kids are singing that one.
Yeah. So
I'm blanking on the name of that one right now.
I mean, it's most prominent in Charlie Brown Christmas, appropriate for this time of year. But I mean, if you watch any of the Easter or any of them, there's going to be like, it's because the same guy doing the jazz music behind all of it. But yes, it's not. It's far from a musical.
You know, I learned recently that apparently Charles Schultz, is that right? He hated the name Peanuts for the comic strip. Apparently, somebody, a business associate of his, or somebody, was like, the newspapers, they needed like a nice, catchy, you know, not nonsensical, but like, you know, phrase to use for your comic strip. What do you want it to be? He's like, I don't know, just pick one. And he picked Peanuts because it sounded like, you know, I don't know, whatever, catchy, I guess. And he hated it because it meant nothing. It had nothing to do with the comic strip. And so he would always he would never use the name Peanuts in reference to his stuff. He'd be like, it's the Charlie Brown and Snoopy and or whatever he would call it. So
I should know this based on how much Peanuts I've read. I can make a note and look that up
for next time.
because I actually have like the Time Life special edition magazine for like going over Peanuts, but I've also read most of the collected edition. I'm looking, it fills almost an entire shelf of my bookcase. I'm looking across to it, but I've not read his biography. That's been on my to-read list for a long time.
I wonder if he's one of those people that like kind of beloved, but when you like look into it, it's like, oh yeah, he had all these racist World War II cartoons. I know that's Dr. Seuss, but you know,
I don't know if he had
the same
that
era.
I think it kind of makes sense.
I don't mean to besmirch the man.
No,
saying,
but
like,
I think the most besmirched thing that I can think of, just like I said, I haven't actually read his biography, but is that I'm pretty sure he was divorced and had a second wife, which is not that big a deal. I mean, yeah, like that's like
a big deal now than it was back then.
Yeah, like back then. It depends when the divorce happened. I guess was it the 50s or the 60s or the 70s. It got progressively more acceptable as you went along, I guess. But although what shocks me is to tangent us on that is, I finally watched a Bruce Lee DVD or Blu-ray, whatever documentary that I got for Christmas. I don't know how many years ago. So sorry to my cousin who gave that to me. I just watched it. But it always shocks me whenever I read about it or watch it or something like that about how, I guess, yeah, unpopular or not, that's not even strong enough a word, but like him marrying a white woman was a very, very big deal. And still in that time, like it was actually illegal in some states for biracial marriages, still in like the 1960s.
Yeah, I mean, it was Love versus Virginia that's sort of finally turned back, and that was 69.
Was it Love or Loving?
Love, I think.
Love?
Pretty sure
Okay.
it was Love.
Yeah. There was a very,
Even though he was wasn't half white, but he was like something like a quarter or so. I'm gonna get that wrong, but he wasn't 100% Chinese, even though he was like the icon of China.
Yeah, I mean, for all the talk about like racial strife over the past 18 months or so, or 12, I don't know how long it's been. Like you said, like the days
are long
and years are short or whatever. But if you stretch it out to any meaningful length of time, I mean, there has been an incredible amount of progress in terms of acceptance of what are you pointing at?
Andrew's cocking his head.
I'm just waiting for it.
Well, okay. I don't know what he's waiting to pounce on, but yeah, an incredible amount of progress in terms of acceptance of biracial relationships by the public. I mean, you look at Gallup polling across the years, and it's just been generally been a pretty steady climb of, yeah. To your point, like it's as people who are born in the '80s, it's kind of incredible to think that like not too long ago, depending on how you think of too long ago, you know, interracial marriages were frowned upon,
I was
and
gonna say
incredibly so.
two out of three of us wouldn't be married to who we're married to.
Yeah, exactly. And that there had to be like court cases fought over it and stuff like that. Like, yeah, love the. I really think it's loving. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's a very famous and touching story I think behind that too. Although I'm not too familiar with it, in Virginia, and where was I going to? Oh yes, but like now we look at it and it's like the percentage of people who would disapprove of an interracial relationship is like, I don't know, 2% or something, which may seem high still, but it's like it's incredible progress considering it was like, 80% or whatever just a couple decades ago. So anyway, that's all I'm trying to say, is that things generally get better.
So the arc of history is long, but bends towards justice, right? That's how this one works. And so yeah, we have over the past 50 years seen improvements in a lot of these things, but it doesn't mean that it has been fast at all. 50 years is a really long time. It's longer than we've been alive. What we're talking about here is something that occurred before we were born and is still impacting things even in our lifetimes. So even though it had started that process, we've been able to enjoy the benefits of that progress through most of our life, but not all of it. And
Yeah,
we
I
grow
mean,
with it.
absolutely, things could always go faster, right? But
Unfortunately, I think that in practical terms, things going faster requires people dying faster, and that's not a good thing either.
yeah, that's good. That's a fairly decent point. Here's a
COVID.
I mean, yeah,
I
I
can
bring
start
it up because
quickly.
no, I bring it up just it's semi as a joke, but it's also like I just read an article like saying the statistic now is like 1 out of every 100 old people, 65 and older, has died from COVID now, and the running line of logic is always, well, if the old people die off, then the young people's like ideas become more prevalent, and but just then
Oh,
maybe
in terms of elections or something like that.
yeah, but then of
Mm.
course you then you just turn into the conservatives, and then the young people are always the progressives. It's like
yeah.
Well,
So the thing that people say is that you get more conservative as you get older. I wonder if then maybe that's not true, and you stay the same, but the world becomes more liberal.
well, no, I think that's what it is the people coming up younger than you just get progressively more, and I don't even want to say it as conservative and liberal.
Right. I mean,
Right.
those are words that mean something, but not exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, they're more like socially conservative and liberal maybe than political conservative and liberal, I guess. I don't know, because you guys have been conservative politically since I've known you,
Mm.
correct?
Do you accept conservative politically, Andrew?
I
Andrew
will
might accept that.
I will accept conservative politically, yes. I don't
I
think
will.
Paul
I,
will,
I
though.
will not accept it, but Andrew will.
I think I
I
am more
have to
conservative
say
than Paul.
libertarian.
Well, so I mean, if you want to assign if you want to enforce your two-dimensional like political spectrum on me, classical liberal.
That doesn't
Which
even
is
make sense. That makes no sense in the two-dimensional phase.
well the like I can I don't think um I guess I understand why you would say conservative because I disagree with you on a lot of stuff and you consider yourself liberal, but
No, I'm
um
just going like like to me, and this is my naive political knowledge, I guess, is like conservative means less government.
hmm. See, but that has changed. Yeah, I mean, like in this current moment, God,
I
who
don't
knows
think
what
anybody
conservative
wants to
means?
government
But
anymore.
this is probably what I
Yeah.
learned in political science back in high school or something. Was like
And that's
conservative
very
means
true for
In
the
the
Reagan
80s,
years.
yeah,
Right, the Reagan years.
yeah, in the 80s, that it's probably fair to say conservative generally meant smaller government. Although, ironically, Reagan was not nearly as
It's what you
good for small
say and
government.
what you do, right?
Yeah, his rhetoric did not match his actions at all. Um, but it's one of those weird things where, like, right, like a lot of those like kind of racist deep south like Republican Republicans used to be Democrats, like just a couple decades before, and political affiliations change and labels change and positions change. I mean, it's changed even now. Like you look at things like in terms of like the unionized blue collar workers and who they're supporting. It used to be like those factory workers and everything would support Democrats because those are the union jobs and whatnot. And somehow Trump managed to sway a lot of them now. And you're looking at like who supports free trade. Well, it used to be the Republicans that always were the biggest free trade supporters, and then Trump came along with his protectionist policies, and now Democrats are kind of reluctant free trade supporters, maybe. And in terms of interventionism overseas, like who knows? Like the Democrats have been more interventionist overseas recently than Republicans have. And so things are all sorts of screwed up. Like I actually don't even know what counts as like a Democratic and Republican position for a lot of issues anymore.
I mean, for Trump or against him. That's what it comes down to.
I mean, frankly, like half of it comes down to like how do you feel about Trump, and the other half is like how do you feel about abortion, or like maybe like are you like white or not white? I mean, it's like all this weird identity politics and like is Orange Man bad or not, and like yeah, it's just it's really weird to look at from a kind of an outside point of view, I think. Sorry, I feel like I went on a bit of a oh wow, Travis is gonna beat me. Holy crap! I've been talking way too much. Andrew, are you done?
Oh yeah, I'm lost this guy. In fact, I want another one. Can someone pour me another one, please?
All right, ready? Here. Oh, hold it up.
Oh no, you just made your
I'm gone.
I'm afraid to pour anymore because I don't want to pour any on my lap.
Do you
You
actually?
have more in your beer? Wow. No, Paul.
What?
There's more in your can?
No, there's not. It's empty.
Okay.
Oh, this is cold drops.
Although I just tried mine and now I spilled the last few drops on my
See? That's what I did not want to do.
So I'll go first while Paul's drinking then, and I'll start saying
Oh man, sorry people. There we go. I'll clean that up later.
I'm interested in having another one of these right away because it was really interesting. The flavor was stronger than you'd expect from a Pilsner, and the more so even in the sense that we're drinking German beers instead of American beers. We've had that conversation before about Pilsner is a very American style beer these days, and you drink a Bud Light or a Budweiser, you're drinking a Pilsner. And then we're drinking the German equivalents of that, and wow, this is like what you're supposed to taste like. This is that next level up, where it's even stronger, both in terms of flavor and alcohol content. And so there's something about that that is a little strange. And even, I think mentioned that these are larger cans than we get in the U.S. We're used to drinking 12-ounce cans. This is 16 ounces. 1 pint, 9 fluid ounces. It's half liter. And so it's much more beer than we're used to getting out of our cans. And yet, even after that full half liter, I'm drinking this and saying, I'll take another, right now, please. Because I find it to be very interesting and compelling. And I want to have more of it.
I think he's tipping his hand a little bit.
A little bit.
Travis, how about you?
I could tip my hand, but I don't know if I want to.
Should I finish up so we can give our gladiator rating, or do you want to just?
I can see everything Andrew says, but it's just not for me. So yeah, tipping my hand all the way.
All right, so should we vote, and then we'll give our more in-depth.
Paul's, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be the tiebreaker.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Since I haven't said anything, I guess I'll go first. It was tough. I actually went back and forth twice. Initially, I was like, oh, this is an interesting smell, an interesting taste. Yeah, like to Andrew's point, I like to have another. I like to kind of savor this more, enjoy it more. Then in the middle, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I need any more of this. I'm halfway through this beer. I'm already kind of done with it. It's, yeah, kind of a weird aftertaste.
I don't think it was just that you were talking so much. I think you were just for not going back to the well.
Yeah, it was kind of heavier, stronger taste that wasn't necessarily a good taste to me, and by the end I was like, you know what? Actually, it is unique. I will give it that. It is unique, and for that reason, I would have considered like, yeah, maybe I would order one more, but I feel like two would be the max, right? After the second, it's like, okay, now I need something else. I need a palate cleanser, and so that's why ultimately I went with thumbs down because, yeah, maybe I would go with one more if I was at a bar, but it's not something I would drink for the entire night. It would be something I would need something to cleanse my palate by the end, and
Yeah,
that seems like a thumbs down to me.
that's a fair point because I don't think this is your everyday driver kind of a beer. This is a special occasion kind of beer where, you know, if you the Wiener Lager we had earlier on would be something you want to have all the time. Always have that on hand because it's really simple, it's straightforward. Everyone liked it, but everyone's like, it's good, it's good. This one is more difficult to say it's good on because it's going to give you more profound reaction, but you don't want to have that all the time. I definitely enjoyed it for what it was, and I would like to have more of it, but you're right. I don't think I want to have this all the time. This is not
So
going to be the beer for the rest of my life kind of thing.
and I know relative to most of what's been in here, this is. I think this is high relative to what's been in here, right? Like anything over 6 has been fairly high for this. It's
Maybe
been
more about
pretty much in
fives.
the 5 zone. I feel like maybe not that I get drunk, but like I feel like if this had been a higher ABV, I might have liked it a little bit more. Just like when I want when I do have something that has like a stronger, slightly stronger punch or weight, as Paul's describing it, like I guess I just expect a more a more ABV punch also as well, because most of the ones when you get like this in America, at least I tend to think of like they're like 8, 9, 10 type of thing. You know, by 10 you're getting up to like a triple IPA, but
So you were something more like an IPA, and so the fact that this is an Imperial Pils, which is still a weaker beer overall,
I,
it's
it's
just
also
was enough for you.
it's also pills, and I think my track record on pilsners has not has not been great. So it had a double whammy of it had imperial and it had pills. So I mean, it had an uphill climb for me. And yeah, I don't know. The can, you can't judge a beer by its can, but the can wasn't doing it for me.
It's distinctive, right? You're not going to mistake
I'm
that
not
for
gonna
anything else.
I'm not gonna pick that up off the shelf though.
Doesn't look like Jennifer Connelly. I'll give
No,
it that.
it does
No.
not.
You don't have her swimming on the outside of the submarine trying to get in.
You're right.
Please let me in.
I'm assuming, Travis, that you've had Lagunitas. Little somethings.
Yes, somewhere. It's probably been a long time, but
Yeah.
yes, I know.
So they're a
They have a
brewery
pinup
that's
girl,
somewhat
right?
local to us. Yeah, they have the Pinup Girl and the Double D's, and yeah, they love playing around with that. So that can is very much in style of their stuff.
All right. Well, any other final words on this clearly terrible beer that nobody liked except for the old man?
Look, I'm just playing to my consistency. I like them all, right? So
That's true. Yeah, you've given him more thumbs up than anybody,
I'll give it a more
and
thumbs up than anybody.
that's counting the fact that you were gone for 2 episodes, I think. So that's impressive. All right. Well,
That's all. I like beer.
yeah. Well, you can like beer and be particular about your type of beer. Okay. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. Like I said before, we are more than 2/3 of the way through, and so the home stretch is on the way. Can't stop the discourse.